Hello, believers, non-believers, and everyone in between. You're listening to Stories with Sapphire. I am Sapphire Sandalo. Now get cozy and open your mind because it's story time.
The road to becoming an exorcist is not an easy one. I had joined a paranormal investigative team. I had questions considering my childhood and all the things that I had experienced up to that point. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know, what the supernatural was really all about. I needed to understand. This is my everyday life. But I had no idea what any of it meant. And I got in over my head on one of the first investigations that I had with this team. And we found, essentially, it was, for lack of a better term, a cursed totem, a cursed object in Cedro-Woolley, Washington State, the Northern State Mental Asylum. Very haunted place. Well, there was a girl with me, and we went back to my place, and she wanted to try it on. And after trying it on, she immediately started to kind of convulse and twitch, and her eyes glossed over black. I double taked because it looked so strange and scary. And when I did the double take, the eyes were still black. I took the necklace off of her, and she started to behave in a very notably different manner. And some of the things that were happening around her would defy what we would call possible. Her face contorted into, it was like the bones in her jaw were able to just move at will, and it was like it didn't look right. It didn't look anatomically possible. Her eyes got even bigger than the eye sockets would be. She started to speak in a voice that a girl her size should not be able to make, let alone the vocal box of any human could make. At one point, she kind of came through for a moment as herself, and she echoed out, in desperation, "My phone, Sensei, my phone, call him. And then she kind of went back to the, kind of just going into the crazy, malevolent type of vibe she was in at that moment. And I called this man at 3 a.m. in the morning, and he knew he was going to think I was crazy. It was like, nobody could believe what's going on right now. And this very annoyed stranger picks up the phone, and he's like, "What do you want?" Just how do I even explain what's happening right now? And so I'm like, "You don't know who I am, and I don't even know if you're going to believe me, but..." And then he's immediately changed his tone, and there was a shift of seriousness, and it was, "Okay, what's going on? Tell me everything." And so I began to explain to him the phenomena that was taking place, the mistake that I made in taking this totem, and the girl that's with me, and all of this. And he gives me a choice that he can either come there and make everything go away, or he can give me a little bit of help, leave me to my own devices, and if I do good enough, he'll answer every question I've ever had about the paranormal, and he'll make sure that no matter what, she's okay. I went with option number 2, and I was tested for 7 days, for a week. the big culmination of it ended up with one of the guys from the paranormal team joining me throughout, that week of being with the girl that was possessed. And there was really, really crazy phenomena. There was some unbelievable stuff, like her crab walking up a wall, us trying to put a silver cross on her, and it actually physically burning her flesh. It it was. I mean, even thinking back on that, that was more than 13, 14 years ago now. I have never seen anything quite like that. And that was my introduction to being an exorcist. But the man who answered the call, who stepped in after the 7-day period, took me under his wing. I lived with him. I studied, I lived, I breathed, I ate and consumed paranormal knowledge and research and studies and esoteric and occult knowledge and practices, and it did everything he told me to do. I followed his word to a T. Yeah, as a kid, I never would have imagined that my life would turn out this way. I mean, I know that I quit my job in nursing to do this type of work full time. I never would have imagined that, I would say, "Oh, yeah, like, what do you do for or, somebody says, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm an exorcist and documentary producer." This is not something I ever thought would just roll off of the tongue,